What's happening, guys? Chris VA Travels here again in Fredericksburg, and I'm about to visit Hugh Mercer's Apothecary. Okay, he made it across the street. Side entrance right here with the transom window above. Open daily. And I'll let you know the hours. Okay, so ticket is $10 for adults, $5 for ages 6 until 18. And they do have a pass for $24. You can visit Hugh Mercer's Apothecary, the Rising Sun Tavern, which is a little further down Caroline Street, and also Mary Washington's house, which is a couple blocks down off Charles Street. Oh, all right, check out the sign. Yep, he worked here for 15 years, it looks like. Yeah, guys, I'm meeting with Kevin with the Virginia Heritage Museums, and he's going to have his interpreters go through the different medications and whatnot. And looks like they've got a signature event going on, bourbon and boxwood. Check that out. And yeah, hours Monday through Friday, 10 until 4. Sunday, 12 until 4. And there he is, big old epaulets. But yeah, check this place out. All right, so lately arrived from London, the finest Swedish leeches. Brimstone, mercury, itch ointment, Spanish blister beetles. All right, looks like a good time. Check this place out.
So we're here at the Hugh Mercer Apothecary shop. Hugh Mercer practiced medicine in Fredericksburg from 1761 until 1775 when the war starts. Now this is not his actual shop. This is an 18th century building now. His store, or rather his apothecary, was catty-cornered from where we're at today. What happens in the Great Fire of 1807, on this corner we're standing on, or the house is standing on, or the shop is standing on, this was the only structure to survive. So it will become the apothecary when the APVA purchases the property in the first part of the 20th century. So what we're standing in, this is a two-part operation for Hugh Mercer. This would have been the apothecary portion. Next room over would have been his medical office. In a few minutes, one of the interpreters here at the Hugh Mercer Apothecary would tell you a little bit about each room. But Hugh Mercer, he's born in Scotland, and he will go to Marshall College. He becomes a physician. And then he gets tangled up in the Battle of Culloden. This was the last battle to try to restore the Stuarts to the English throne. And he's on the losing end of that. And they are looking for reprisals, so Hugh Mercer escapes to Pennsylvania. And he will settle in Philadelphia before moving into western Pennsylvania, today's MERCER'Sburg. And he will fight in the French-Indian War. And while he's fighting in the French-Indian War, a conflict between the English and French, he meets two Georges, George Wheaton, who was from here in Fredericksburg, as well as George Washington. And at the conclusion of the French-Indian War, we think at the advice of the two Georges, Hugh Mercer settles here. But he's not really sold on the town. He writes a letter indicating that he's going to give Fredericksburg a try. He must have liked it. It wasn't long after he marries. Has 5 children here, and then in 1776 he will leave. 1775 rather, goes off, fights in the American Revolution, and in January of 77 he is fighting at the Battle of Princeton. He is mortally wounded by the British and dies several days later.
Hello and welcome to Dr. Hugh Mercer's Apothecary. Now, unfortunately, Dr. Hugh Mercer is not in right now. We believe he's at one of the nearby taverns having a very seditious conversation. But as he's not in right now, excuse me, I'd be more than happy to show you about his apothecary. In the fireplace over here, we have one of his more important pieces of equipment. This is his medicinal still. It is purely medicinal. If he needs anything alcoholic, he can go to his brother-in-law, Mr. Wheaton, who runs a nearby tavern, and he can get some alcohol from him. He'll brew many tinctures in that still of his, one of which being rose water. Now, it takes about pound and a half of rose petals to make just a small amount of rose water. Many of the ladies will use it as a perfume or flavoring for cakes and puddings. Dr. Mercer will use it as a poultice for the itchy eyes. Especially this time of year, our eyes do get rather red and itchy. It's very distracting. He will take a bit of that rose water, pour it on some white bread, and place it over the eyes. It'll help alleviate that itch. Now, of course, to make anything in that still, Dr. Mercer will need clear water to work with. That is why he has his water filter here. Now, this water filter is a sandstone rock with the basin carved out into it. Now, sandstone is a porous rock, meaning that when you pour water into it, the water itself will flow through it, but anything else will be left up at the top. And once it has flown through, it will simply collect into this bucket down there. And all the debris that's left up top, he can just grab and throw out back. After drinking at a tavern, the next day complaining of something we call the tavern's distress. Dr. Mercer will take a cinnamon stick, a piece of ginger, and a crab claw, dry with no meat inside. He'll grind these all up and then have you drink it with some warm milk. The milk helps coat the stomach, and the ginger and the cinnamon help with flavor, but what really does the trick is the crab claw. It contains something called calcium carbonate, and that helps neutralize the acids in the stomach. Now, there are things that Dr. Mercer finds to be so disagreeable that he just has to make into a pill. Well, otherwise people wouldn't be able to get it down in enough quantity to get the desired effect, such as the Peruvian bark. Now, the Peruvian bark is one of Dr. Mercer's more prized medicines. This helps treat the intermittent fever, something you may know better as malaria. He will take that Peruvian bark, mix it with some flour, and something sticky like gum arabic. Grind that all down, add a little bit of water to it, and roll it out into something he calls a dough pipe. He will take that dough pipe and cut it into individual pills before rounding it with his pill rounder. Now, that takes a very long time, which is why Dr. Mercer is so happy to have this latest invention from Germany. He simply lays the dough pipe along there and runs this back and forth, and it cuts 24 even pills all at the same time. Now, once the pills have been cut and rounded, he will need to coat them in something. Free of charge, he can coat it in some vegetable soap. It doesn't taste particularly well, but it helps it go down a little easier. A little bit of an extra charge, you can coat it in sugar. It certainly helps with the taste. However, if you find yourself traveling, he will probably recommend some silver leaf. Now, coating it in silver leaf will keep the pill fresh and will also keep it waterproof. Though, do be careful, Dr. Mercer is the one coating it. Us apprentices can get a little heavy-handed sometimes. People come in complaining that the pills come out the same way they come in. Dr. Mercer will laugh, tell you to wipe it off, take it again. About the third time around, you'll have the desired effect. Now, if you come in with a sore throat, Dr. Mercer will give you alum. This is a mineral we get from nearby Alum Springs. You will take this, add a little bit of water to it, and have you gargle it at the back of your throat. Do be careful with the dosage, though. Too much of it will dry out your throat, pucker your lips up, and you'll be unable to speak for hours afterwards. But we do get something we call the itch, the scabies. For that, Dr. Mercer will make an ointment. He will take his spirit lamp, light the little wick on fire, and he can melt down anything he needs to over that little wick. For the itch, he'll take beeswax, olive oil, spermaceti, which comes from the head of a sperm whale. We get these from our northern colonies. And the main ingredient of sulfur. He'll melt that all down and have you apply it over where you have the itch. It will take care of that itch, but you will be left smelling quite terrible afterwards. Quite of rotten eggs. Now, Dr. Mercer is an educated man. He studied in Marischal College in Scotland for 4 years before fleeing to the colonies after the Jacobite Rebellion. While he studied there, he found that the humoral theory of medicine best suited his practice. That states that you have 4 humors in your body. Your black and yellow bile, which you take in the necessary, your blood, and your phlegm, which is any clear liquids. If you're in good health, all those humors are imbalanced. However, if you're upset, you don't feel well, one or more of those humors are out of balance and they must be purged. If Dr. Mercer deems it necessary to give you an upward purge, he will use ipecac. Now, ipecac translates to vomit leaf, so as you can imagine, it will do exactly that. However, in smaller doses, it is good to treat the bloody flux, the dysentery. Now, if you have too much of that phlegm, that clear liquid, doctor has a variety of different ways he can purge you of that. He can sweat you, he can blister you, or he can salivate you. For sweating, he will use his snake root. He will take this, soak it in wine for about a week, and have you drink that wine. You will sweat profusely afterwards, for a couple of hours at least. For blistering, he will use his Spanish blister beetles. He'll take these, grind them up, mix them with some vinegar, and place them over where he wishes to blister you. He'll draw a large bulbous blister, and he can just simply lance that open. For salivation, he will use chamomile. This is powdered mercury, although liquid mercury works just as well. Just put a little bit on the back of the tongue, and you will start to salivate. We once had a gentleman come in and salivate 3 pints one time, so you know it works very efficiently. However, if Dr. Mercer determines that all of your humors are out of balance, he must do a full body purge. For that, you will turn to the antimony. Now, antimony is a heavy metal, so I'm sure it encourages confidence in you. The antimony will do what all this does all at the exact same time. You will purge upwards and downwards, you will sweat, you will probably cry, you will be in that necessary for quite some time. You will be left completely humorless afterwards. But once you are left humorless, doctor can help rebuild those humors in a healthy manner. Now, I don't mean to be a gossip, but some of the gentlemen do come in complaining of their wives' hysteria. Laughing or crying for no reason, speaking out of term, having an opinion. Doctor will be treating that hysteria with valerian. Now, valerian smells quite terrible, and it tastes just as bad, so it is quite a bit of a choking it down process. But if the ladies can't keep it down, it will calm them, and in turn, calm the whole household. Now, if you come in complaining of a cough, chances are Dr. Mercer will give you some marshmallow. This is a root of a hibiscus plant found in the marshes. He will simply take this, boil it down into a cough syrup, and have you drink it. It will coat your throat, although it does taste rather pungent. However, if that cough is more asthmatic in nature, he will use coltsfoot. For the ladies and the children, it's much the same. Boil it down into a cough syrup and have them drink it. Though for the gentlemen, he will simply hand them a stack of their leaves, tell them to take it home, put it in their pipe, and smoke it. It'll get to the lungs faster. Treat it at the source that way. And of course, Dr. Mercer does recommend smoking for all gentlemen. As we all know, we are born with a very thick coating of black phlegm in our lungs, and if we don't start smoking now, we'll never cough it all up. Of course, tobacco isn't just used for smoking. It can be used for many other things, like that distressing drainage you sometimes get from your nose. As we all know, anything that comes off your nose is actually coming from your brain. A dry brain will do you no good. So Dr. Mercer will take a little bit of cured tobacco, roll it up into a ball, and shove it up as far as he can get it into your nose. It will stop the drainage that way. He will also use tobacco for the intestinal worms in children. He will take that tobacco leaf, soak it in some white wine, and place it over the child's abdomen. It will make the child sick, but it will make those worms much more sick. Lastly, we have sassafras. During the winter, our blood gets very thick to help keep us warm, and that is a good thing. Although during the spring, all that thick blood is doing is keeping us down and making us so tired, we need a way to thin out that blood. A lot of people do that with sassafras tea. You will need to drink quite a lot of sassafras tea, though. 3 or 4 cups a day for at least a month. It is much faster just to bleed you. And we will hear about bleeding in the next room.
This is the medical portion of doctor's practice. This is where he'll bring you in and sit you down. He'll listen to your complaints. He'll decide from that the proper course of treatment. Now, not everything's particularly pleasant, so if you prefer not to hear something, do say something. But truly, the most important thing doctor will do for you here is to bleed you. We have leeches and we have lancets. Now, this is one of doctor's lancets. I don't like lancets, they hurt, but I do prefer the leeches. Well, they're painless. is one of Doctor's leeches. Now, when a leech bites you, you feel nothing more than a pinprick, nothing more than you'd feel from a mosquito bite. While the leech is eating, there's no feeling at all, and when it's full, it drops off. No encouragement needed. Now, because of something in their saliva, doctor calls it an anticoagulant. At the point where the leech was attached, you'll continue to ooze blood for several hours, so you get the extra benefit from them. Now, unfortunately, he's an extremely short supply. He only has 11 leeches on hand. Well, that may sound like a lot, but for an adult, you'd want to start with 10, and most often be looking to use upwards of 20 in order to remove enough of the humor causing you the distress. Fortunately, though, they are useful for other things. If you have a bruise, a doctor can place a leech upon it, leak the blood out from under the skin. Done damage up your nose or in your ear, the leeches can get to places he cannot. They're even good for migraine headaches. One attached to each of the temples relieves the pressure. But unfortunately, if you do need a full bleeding today, there aren't enough leeches to accommodate. But doctor will be as gentle as he can be with the lancet. Most often, he'll open the incision on the inside of the arm. He has that chart on the wall. He'll refer to that to determine the proper place. Depending on your malady, of course. Also, the seasons of the year, the phases of the moon, doctor's disposition, they do all come into play. But truly, the arm is the most convenient. He'll simply open the incision to breathe the vein. He'll have you sit in his comfortable chair, and you'll hold the bleeding pan until the requisite amount has been drawn. Most cases, he'll fill this to the top. It holds approximately a quart, but he knows that's the proper amount. Well, you have upwards of 12 quarts of blood in your body. Well, he knows you do. Even if he takes a full quart from you, he's left you with 11. You should be fine. Now, there is a doctor going about, I believe he's from France, saying we bleed too freely here in the colonies. Apparently, they're not bleeding as much in Europe anymore. And he's trying to tell people we have only half that amount of blood. I don't think Dr. Mercer believes him. But if you are concerned, say something. I'm sure doctor will be happy to stop the bleeding before you pass out. I'm sure you're familiar with cupping. It's so useful for so many things. This is one of doctor's cupping glasses. You can use any glass or bottle you choose at home. He'll take some cloth and set it on fire. He'll push it into the cupping glass. He wants to get that air good and hot as he can. Once it's hot, he'll press it over a putrid sore, maybe a boil. As it begins to cool, it forms a suction, so it'll draw the rancid material out of the sore. It'll draw the pus out of the boil and give you much relief. And during the winter months, he'll use it for chest congestion. 3 or 4 hot cupping glasses on the front, 3 or 4 in the back. It'll lift the pressure above your lungs, help you to breathe more freely. Now, are you troubled by a bad tooth today? Doctor can draw them out for you if you need him to. We do have dentists here in the colonies. You don't want to trust them. They're itinerant. They come into town, they draw whatever teeth are being drawn, collect their money, and move on. By the time you realize you have a problem with something they've done, they're gone. Come to see Dr. Mercer. He has the proper tools for drawing out your teeth, and if you ever have a problem with anything he's done, you can come back. He'll still be here. Now, this is what he'll use for front teeth, a good pull and a tug. Get those out without too much effort. Back teeth are more difficult. He has a special tool for them. This is a tooth key. It looks like a house key, turns the way the house key turns. There's this hook on the end. He'll hook it under the gum line. As he turns, it tightens. It forms the leverage needed to draw the tooth right out of your jaw. It's most effective. Now, if you have a bad tooth and you cannot get in to see a doctor, maybe you're too far out in the country, go out on your own property, find a willow tree, and cut some of the bark off of it. Go to the inner bark where it's soft and chew on it. It'll deaden the pain. It'll give you much ease. And you can actually take this and break it up and brew it into a tea. Good for many minor aches and pains. Doctor says willow bark contains something called salicylic acid. People keep calling it aspirin, strange word. But after a cup or two, you probably won't even need to trouble doctor to draw the teeth out. Just wait till they rot out on their own. Now, after you leave here today, if you should have an accident, maybe your carriage tips, your horse trips, you fall off. If you think you may have broken a bone, do come back. Doctor will take good care of you. He'll use his thumb and index finger. He'll feel for the break, whether it's your arm, your leg, whatever it might be. If he can feel where the bones are separated and seems simple enough, he'll pull and tug and twist. He'll line them up the way they need to be, and then take this. He calls it a splint. Strips of wood glued to leather. His is in many sizes. He'll pick the proper size, wrap it tightly around the limb, and bandage it up well. Wear it for a month, the limb should be healed in that time. May not be as straight as it was originally, but you have it. And that's the important thing. You can still use it if it's not perfectly straight, but if you've done grievous damage, shattered it, or splintered it, it's most unlikely doctor's going to be able to repair that. And if he leaves it like that, you'll be in pain for the rest of your life. But it's probably going to be a pretty short life because that's going to become putrid. That infection is going to kill you pretty straight away. So that's what doctor will turn to his amputation tools to remedy the situation. Now, should doctor need to do an amputation, the first thing he's going to do is check and see where the bones are broken, bones are sound. Perhaps a carriage wheel rolled over your hand and crushed those bones. He knows if he leaves it like that, that's going to become putrid, that's going to kill you. So he's going to first check and see, and if the bones are sound around the elbow, around the wrist, he's going to take this, he calls it a tourniquet. He'll wrap it around the limb well above where he's going to be cutting and tighten it down. He'll recheck his mark. He'll take his flesh knife. He'll give a good strong cut above and a good strong cut below, severing all the flesh between doctor and the bone. Then he'll take this. It's a retractor strap. He'll put that into the incision he's made. This is very important. Doctor needs to work very quickly. He needs to complete the entire process in under 4 minutes, or you're going to go into shock. So he needs to have a good, clear view of the bone. This will pull the flesh back, and it will help him maintain a flap of skin that he'll later pull forward. Once that's out of his way, he'll take his bone saw, he'll cut quickly through the limb, he'll let it fall into the box of sawdust. Well, that's important. You see, he's going to want to make sure that that hand is cleaned up and wrapped up and sent home with you. Well, you want to give it a proper burial in your family graveyard. When you do go to the hereafter, this way all your parts go together. But now that that hand is off, he'll take this, he calls it a tenaculum, he'll pull out the veins and arteries a wee bit, and then he'll take some good wax thread from the shoemaker, and he'll tie them off into ligatures so that they don't continue to bleed. Once he's found them all, he can loosen the tourniquet. As long as you don't start gushing blood, he can take that off. He'll take some flour and lint, flour from Mrs. Mercer's kitchen, lint scraped off of linen fabric. He'll pack that into the stump. That will stop any residual bleeding. And then he'll simply wrap the whole thing up and send you home to rest. Now, he didn't give you anything for pain. There's not much he has available. maybe some opium or laudanum, but in this day it can be hard to come by. More likely you're going to faint at first cut of the flesh knife anyway, and it would be for the best. But he also didn't close it up. He left it open to drain. So you'll come back in 2 or 3 days, he'll take the bandaging off, remove the packing, and then he'll check for infection. As long as there's no raging infection, he'll pull that flesh forward, use a good curved needle and stitch it up neatly, and then he'll pop a stump sock over the top and send you home and wish you good life. Now, that's assuming it didn't become infected. If it had become infected, he's likely going to have to amputate further up the limb this time in the hopes that he will catch it before it does, but he's given you your best chance of surviving. Without the amputation, there's a good chance you'll die. With the amputation, you at least have a 50-50 chance of surviving.
Back behind the doctor's office, we've got a little museum dedicated to Hugh Mercer, and this was painted by Mary R. Gilmer in 1955. A really good painting of his death at the Battle of Princeton, and I found this photo online because the painting in the museum had a glare to it. I couldn't film it, but yeah, you'll see George Washington in the background. And the story goes that the Redcoats had mistaken him for George Washington. They shot his horse out from underneath him, which you can see the bullet hole in the horse, was surrounded, and he was stabbed 7 times. Here's his grave, buried up at Laurel Hill Cemetery in Philadelphia. He was reinterred here in 1840, and next time I'm up in Philly, I'm going to stop by and visit this. Nice Georgian home here called the Sentry Box, located off Lower Caroline Street here in Fredericksburg. It was the home of Revolutionary War Brigadier General George Whedon, and he ended up raising Hugh Mercer's kids after Hugh Mercer died. And then Hugh Mercer's grandson, that would be Hugh Whedon Mercer, he was a Confederate general. He was born in this house. Interesting, this is a letter written by George Whedon to Charles Willson Peale, a famed artist of the time, and it's in reference to Hugh Mercer's son, William Mercer, who George Whedon was raising. And yeah, so William Mercer ended up training under Charles Willson Peale. Side note, he was deaf, and he is thought to be recognized as the first deaf artist in America. One of his descendants, Johnny Mercer, 5th generation descendant, and he was a musician that enjoyed national prominence in the 1940s and 50s. He was born down in Georgia and started his career up in New York. We know who this is, another descendant, George Patton, World War II hero, and he would be the great-great-great-grandson of Hugh Mercer. And this would be the grandson that I mentioned, Hugh Whedon Mercer, the Confederate general. He served in the U.S. Artillery in Georgia, and if you're ever down in Savannah, you can visit his home, the Mercer Williams house. Miniature portrait of Edmund Pendleton, but it was painted by William Mercer, Hugh Mercer's son, the deaf artist that trained under Charles Willson Peale. And this would be a mob attempting to force a stamp officer to resign, and Hugh Mercer, of course, opposed the Stamp Act. And it's kind of funny that those of Scottish descent are the ones that oppose the British government the most. Patrick Henry to be another, just coming off the heels of the Jacobite Rebellion. But anyway, Hugh Mercer, because of his military background, he became one of 8 locals to start up independent militias in Spotsylvania County, and that would be in December of 1774. This was painted by Howard Pyle. It's called The Retreat Through the Jerseys, painted in 1898. Map of Trenton made by a Hessian soldier, and you'll see the Delaware River down below, and that's Mercer's brigade in the blue. Sketched by John Trumbull of a teenage Hugh Mercer Jr., and yeah, he was used as a model because he had an uncanny likeness to his father. And Trumbull came to Fredericksburg in 1791 to sketch these, and that would be after Hugh Sr.'s death, of course. The Clark House on the Princeton battlefield, and this is the house where Mercer died. He was stabbed, he was wounded on January 3rd, but ended up passing away 9 days later, January 12th. Remains of the Pitsligo Kirk Church in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, and Hugh Mercer was born at the manse here on January 16th, 1726. And his father was also a preacher here. That would be William Mercer, Presbyterian minister. Hugh studied here at the Marischal College in Aberdeen, Scotland, and it's what would become the University of Aberdeen. He studied here from the age of 15 until 19. Battle of Culloden, circa 1746, a battle I'm pretty familiar with. And yeah, Hugh Mercer was on the field. He was with the Jacobites. And on the losing side, of course. So after the battle, that's when he fled as part of the clearances in 1750. And he came over to western Pennsylvania, to Mercersburg. French and Indian War silver medal that was awarded to him, given in 1757 by the city of Philadelphia, and it's in recognition for his merits in the Kittanning expedition. Ledger with some of the names of the slave patients that he worked on, and you'll see the names of Lucy and Patty. Hugh Mercer's sword, and this is the one he used at the Battle of Princeton, and I'm sure it's what he used to fight off the British right before his death. And in his final days, it was given to Captain Jacob Morgan.
We demonstrate this here behind you as perhaps a place, if your wig got a bit disheveled after seeing the doctor, perhaps you could have poked your head in and had your wig repowdered after seeing the doctor. On my right here, this room, we're not sure what it would have been used for, but we have it just as a demonstration, a bed set up as if perhaps one of Dr. Mercer's apprentices may have used here, and as well a spinning wheel as well, just for demonstration purposes. And then the signage here talks a little bit about the architecture of the building. I'd mentioned earlier, this is not the actual apothecary of Hugh Mercer, though the building does date to the 1700s. And what you're looking at right here, this is property that Hugh Mercer acquired after arriving in Fredericksburg. And down towards the bottom, believe it or not, this place was actually a Ford dealership at one point in the early part of the 1900s.
In the doctor's office, there are slight height and width differences in the baseboards, and this suggests that the doors to the basement might have been moved at some point.
during the 1920s renovation, this fireplace was added, and they've come to find out that it might not be historically accurate. And while this was a dealership, there were actually double doors here so they could pull cars into the showroom. Wow, so they can tell a new ceiling had been put on by looking at the cornice. The lower cornice has softer edges, meaning more coats have been applied over the years, where the upper cornice appears to be newer because there are sharper details. Some thermal imaging to help date the house. This infrared picture, it shows a corner beam, which indicates brace framing, which shows the house goes back to the 18th century. White oak joists down in the basement, and these marks indicate that the wood was most likely cut with a pit saw. And using tree ring data, they can tell these timbers were fallen in 1771 or 72, just after the growing season. You can see fingerprints where the brickmaker had pushed the clay into the rectangular mold just before it was put into the kiln to be fired. And this is what it looked like before the late 1920s restoration, and I guess it had fallen apart after it was a dealership. Old Sanborn fire insurance map going back to 1886, and at this time the building was being rented out to working class tenants. Old deed going back to 1740, where Henry Willis had purchased lots 47 and 48. You can see them highlighted. And Henry Willis, he lived over on Willis Hill, over on Marie's Heights at the Fredericksburg battlefield.
In the garden, it's just a demonstration. We're not sure if Dr. Mercer was growing his own herbs and flowers, but what's out back there is an example of what he would have been growing. Well, not growing, if he wasn't growing it, using it, purchasing it elsewhere, and using it as for his medicines. A lot of herbs, plants, and heavy metals in 18th century medicine.
Sundial back here looks like it was dedicated in 1965. Amelia, and I can't really pronounce the that last name, but pretty cool. Old stone wall back here, and all just the different medicinal herbs that would be growing for the practice. Colt's foot back there. So over here we have the guide to Hugh Mercer's Physic garden. Tansy, intestinal worms, prevents miscarriages. Rosemary, well, improves your memory. I'll give you some of that. Spearmint, oh, marshmallow. All right, sore throat. Soothing enema. Oh, and then wild senna is a laxative. Mustard, lemon balm, sassafras. Pretty cool. Oh, tobacco plant back here, and this thing's pretty grown up. If you were to grow this for smoking tobacco, you would nip these. It fans the leaves, pushes the nicotine down in there. And if you want a good demonstration on how to grow tobacco, if you're on Facebook, join the Berkeley Plantation page. Bill on there, it gives pretty good video demonstrations. Stone stairs. And this is the back of the Fredericksburg Baptist Church. Tansy, sage. And very humid out here. Had a heavy rain last night. Japanese pepper. Lavender over here. Fig tree over here. Tucked away in the corner. They say slate tiles. All right, that wraps it up for Hugh Mercer's Apothecary. Another great tour, very thorough. Again, want to thank Kevin with Washington Heritage Museums for showing me around. And yeah, guys, I'm going to get out of here. As always, like and subscribe. See you on the next one.